Hi guys, Kim here. Failure. The question I find myself asking these days is failure really true? I've been around a long time now, and on reflection I can see how throughout my life I have misunderstood the idea of it. It seems to me that failure is only there so we can learn from it, but instead of accepting it and moving on, we seem to focus on it. We seem to wear it like a cloak and use it as an excuse to not try again. I'm a painter, and sometimes when I paint, the things I paint just don't feel right. It's like my perceptions are distorted. So I'm only focusing on what I do not like rather than focusing on the bigger picture. And at one time I was painting this painting, and no matter what I did with it, no matter how I changed it, it just didn't feel right. So in desperation, I painted over half of the painting in black. And at that moment, there was a knock on the door and a young neighbour came in. He took one look at the painting I was painting and said, "Oh, I love that." And I gave it to him because I was just over it. I'd been working on it for weeks and I simply couldn't get it to work for me. Anyway, years later, I went to the shops and the young neighbour was standing with a group of youths. And they approached me and said how much they really appreciated my artwork as it was above the youth's TV. I was amazed. But not only this, it brought to mind that my idea of failure may not be perceived so by another. I think I spent most of my life being miserable, but for the life of me, when I reflect, I can't remember why. Now from this perspective, I can reflect and say that sheer focus was the reason. It was that I was focusing on what was wrong, rather than allowing myself to just be happy. Now, is it perhaps ingrained in us to have these expectations upon ourselves? So much comparing ourselves to others that perhaps appear to be so much more complete than we are? Currently it seems as though so much is going on in the mirror world that it's not a clear representation of happiness. There's also this underlying feeling of living to the maximum happiness now. This is what the last year and a half's experience has done for me. It's allowed me to forge through this pointlessness of existence, to make the most out of the present. So back to failure. Do we really fail at anything? Or is there another reason why we do not succeed? Can we really change failure around to something that we no longer give focus to? I've got this standard saying that I say to myself all the time, which is, where your focus goes, grows. Be mindful of what you're focusing on, at this time especially. I do not think many of us realize how powerful we really are, that our thoughts and feelings and deeds are creating the world that we live in. I can remember a number of years ago I was renting and I kept having the experience of being forced to move through owners selling houses or them wanting to put the rent up. I got fed up with it. So I wrote this affirmation or a script down. Now the words of the script were, the next time I move, it will be into a house I own outright. I did move 2 more times into houses I didn't own, but those houses were in situations where I was caring for someone else, so I didn't need to own the house per se. I had no inclination or involvement in how this affirmation could come about. I certainly wasn't sitting around thinking about it. I wasn't thinking, I wonder if I win the lotto, or I wonder if I could go and get myself a really well-paid job. Anything's possible. But the less we think about it, and the less we think about how these processes work, the better off we are. We have this tendency to get in our own way, and in doing so we mess up the intended process of manifestation. Thanks for listening.